All right, guys, today we're installing a new front grille and a new front bumper. The front bumper is actually completely new. Well, not completely new. Cali Raised has a stealth front bumper, but for the Tacoma, they have it with a Bullbar, and personally, I don't like Bullbar. So I reached out to them and said, hey, can you make a stealth series front bumper for the Tacoma without a Bullbar? And they said yes. So we're installing that today. This is the first time this product has ever been installed, ever been aired. So you guys get a special treat today. We're gonna show you how to install these and what's so special about them. I think there's also a light bar in there, so we're gonna find out. Alrighty, so before we start tearing this front portion apart so we can install the front bumper, we actually have a new grille. So you have to take the grille out in order to install the front bumper anyway. So we're gonna take the front grille out. I'll show you guys how to do that in just a second. We're gonna toss in the new one that Taco Clout gave us, and then we're gonna get right into the front bumper. So stay tuned.
All right, guys, so now we're gonna start taking the grille apart. You're gonna need a 10mm socket, 3/8 drive, 1/4" drive, doesn't matter. Panel popper, you're gonna be taking off the clips that hold the wiring harness for the millimeter wave radar sensor. That's your sensor in the front and distance. So that's going to be step one.
So once everything's been unfastened, make sure you disconnect the TPMS sensor. You can just kind of start to pop this out very slowly. Surely, maybe. Clearly I haven't washed my truck in a minute. All right, and we're good. All right, guys, so now that the grille is out, we can start working a little bit further on the front, but just want to give you a side-by-side comparison of the old Taco Clout grill versus this new Taco Clout grill. So along in doing this front bumper install, we're going to be switching out the grill. Super stoked. I think the new one, I don't know, this one looks pretty slick. Pretty stoked. All right, guys, so next we have to remove these little plastic kind of like fans. I don't know what the actual term for them is, but they have little plastic tabs. You can see them right here. So use kind of like a trim removal kit, tool of sorts, super helpful, but yeah, pop those out. All right, so once you've taken off these plastic pieces, you're then going to be taking off this lower valance portion. There's a bunch of clips, you can't see it. We'll try and get some video of it, but there's a bunch of clips and you're basically just gonna pop this out, and that's gonna be the next step to basically prepping this area before we put in the front bumper. All right, guys, so Pat is currently underneath the truck. Like I said, we're taking off this plastic piece here, but there's a lot of tabs. So you're gonna kind of see them as you go along. It's gonna be tough because I don't have a lot of lighting, but you can see this tab here where my finger is. Pat also just took out two 10mm bolts, one here and one there. So we're gonna be taking off this plastic piece here, and there's also some like cushioning that we have to take through, and then we should be good to go. And then we're gonna start working on the radiator hose. All right, so we're about to pop this off, guys, but there's two like T-clips kind of in the back. I'm gonna do my best here, finagling the camera, but maybe you can see it, but there's a little clip down here, right there. They're on each side. It's in the corner pocket, essentially, and you gotta pop that off to get this portion off. All right, guys, so there's the clip we tried. We have 3 people here, so you can see it, but it's a little blue clip. It's in each corner pocket, and we need to remove those in order to remove the front plastic from the front bumper. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Thank you, Pat and Ellie. All right, guys, so we got those tabs out. It's gonna take a little bit. They were a little bit of a pain in the butt, but as you can see, we're starting to get some gaps between this front portion here, so we're gonna start ripping that out in just a second. But again, there's more tabs on the bottom, so make sure you're checking those out. For reference here, you can see one of those tabs right by Pat's face. There's another one over there. There's a bunch along the bottom, so you have to kind of push those out and then pull this portion of the front grille out. All right, so we just got those plastic tabs off. Pat's kind of working his magic here. You can see how it's draping, so we just have to rip that out, and then we have some extra steps coming along. But those tabs are definitely a pain in the butt to get. Helps if you have 2 people. You can do it alone, but definitely takes some time. Not gonna lie, it's not easy to get the tabs out, but you gotta prep, so get after it. Another quick note here, guys. You can't really see it. Maybe you will be able to with the lighting, but there's a bunch of tabs that hold this top portion on, straight up here. We're also gonna be removing this portion here. So just take your time, get the tabs out. If you're not worried about keeping this or handing it off to anyone, then you could probably just rip it right out. So these are the tabs on the front that kind of hold this plastic portion on. Pat's going very slowly and taking these off because we're actually going to be putting this onto his TRD Pro over here. TRD Black Pearl on Instagram. For those of you interested, you should be. This dude wheels his truck like a madman. and we love that. Rip away, my friend. All right, so the plastic is off. Next step, we're taking off these buffers here. So you can either rip those off, which is what I'm going to do, or you can be lame and not rip them off. Oh, resistance. That's it. All right, next step as we're prepping these, we have to be taking out these. I believe these are all 14mm bolts. From what I've been told and from what I've learned, you should use a breaker bar for these. There's also 3 over here. So in order to prep for the front bumper, we have to take those out. So 14mm, get a breaker bar. You might need an extension for that breaker bar too. Switching to the other side, again, 14mm. And then once that's taken out, that's taken care of right now, there's also these blocks back here. I believe these are also 14mm, if the camera would focus. Right there, also 14s. We're gonna be taking those metal blocks out as well. They're on each side, so be sure to take those out as well. All right, so once we've taken out the blocks, there's also tabs for this in each corner, which we realized we didn't take one out over there. So then once that's out, we should, second time's the charm, and that's it. All right, guys, so once the front grille has been removed and prepped, we do have to do some trimming here. But now for the big reveal. This is the new Cali Raised Stealth Series front bumper for the Tacoma. Now, before, it had a Bullbar, and in this version, in this iteration, there's not a Bullbar, which is, I think, going to be very clean, have a really nice aesthetic look for the Tacoma. Got TRD Black Pearl Pat holding it up for us. We also have a beautiful Cali Raised LED light bar, along with Pat's rocking these Cali Raised bed stiffeners, which has saved him, and you'll hear about that in some Instagram reels soon. But check this puppy out. So now we need to prep, get the light bar set in, and then we're going to start trimming and then get it all hooked up. All right, guys, so we got the brackets in. You can see it's facing, flat side facing out. So as we're prepping the front bumper to go in, this is what it looks like. Again, facing out. So let me grab this light bar here. Sorry if the video gets unstable at any point. Recording on an iPhone as I go, so that way when we place this in, we kind of see what it's going to look like, and we kept everything loose so we can adjust it as we need to. Next is going to be the winch mount plate, which we'll be installing in just a second. All right, so the light bar is almost in, but I wanted to show you guys, do a lock washer and then a washer, and then that's going to go through the bracket here and into the side of the light bar, which hopefully you can see is right there. Goes through that hole. Goes into that one, and then once you fasten that, work on your angles so that it is nice and flush the way you need it to be against your front bumper, and then you're all set. And then we're going to move on to the winch mount. Yep. All right, guys, so we got the light bar in. Pat's going to tighten everything up, but he actually had a really great point. So before we tighten everything up, we're going to install the bumper first, and Pat's going to tell you why.
So you're not going to want to have this facing flush against your bumper, the light bar. You're going to want to angle it once everything is on the truck. You don't want your light facing too far down. You want it to kind of spread out ahead of you. So leave the adjustment for up and down for the last.
All right, so next step is we need to remove the 3 bolts. There's one here. You can see we already removed this one here. My finger is, even though the camera's not focusing. And there's one also kind of in the wheel well. You can't really see it very easily, so you're gonna have to remove this. But you'll see that bolt right there. Those need to be removed. And once those are removed, we're going to be putting these on to help relocate as we put on the front bumper. All right, guys, so next we need to remove this back a little bit. They provide you with some metal brackets. You can kind of see it right here. Pat's hopping underneath. This part's probably the toughest aspect. Pat, if you move your hand for just a second, you can kind of see how he's replacing it. We're sliding it back to clear for the front bumper. Sorry I can't get a better shot of this, guys, but there's 3 of them. There's 1. There's 2, and then there's another one. You can't see it from here, but it's in the wheel well.
So what do you think about this one? How much are you asking for?
I love those things. Somebody will pay 10 grand for that.
Yeah.
How many miles?
160.
It's been over a year. Nice. Yeah. I like those athletic.
All right, guys, not gonna lie, this took a lot of finagling, putting it lightly. You can see there how we moved that around. took a little bit, so take your time with this. What's up guys, it's Ren. If you're liking the video so far, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out tremendously and allows me to do the things that I love to do with my truck. Thanks and keep watching. All right, trimming is done. Just a note, guys, as you're trimming, these saved my eyes. You probably can't see, maybe you can. Sun's going right in my face, but I have plastic all over me. It was shooting out, so just be careful as you're doing your trimming for your truck. Wear safety glasses always. All right, so sun's going right in my face, but once you finish your cut, definitely go back, whether it be with a file, some sandpaper, or something, and just kind of sand it down, make it nice and flush, because you're going to be fitting that bumper in. So make sure it's nice and clean. You can see here as we get zoomed up in, it's kind of frayed and everything, depending on what tool you're using. But definitely file it down, make it nice and clean, and then we're going to fit the bumper to see how it looks. We might need to cut more depending, but I think I did a pretty good job on the cut. Hopefully the time lapse showed that. All right, guys, so we have it dry fitted now. It looks pretty good. The lines were pretty clean. We just have to finish up the wiring, get that all set, and check to make sure the light bar is working. But overall, I don't know if you guys can see that, if it's focusing. I'm getting a lot of sunlight here, but looks great. All right, guys, so when you're putting the front bumper on, once it's all set in, you're going to be using the stock 14 millimeter nuts, and you're just going to be putting those on down here. You can see I already placed one, and that's essentially how you're locking this into place. All right, guys, so once your 14 millimeter bolts are tightened and fastened and your front bumper is in, let's start to talk about wiring. So we didn't adjust the light bar below because we wanted to be able to have some adjustability, see where the light was being cast before we really tightened it up. But we're going to get into wiring now because we have to first check and make sure our wiring is actually working. So Cali Raised, of course, crushing things per usual. Plug and play, super simple. I suck at wiring. Pat's probably still going to have to help me with this because I'm horrible with wiring, but literally plug and play. The rest of this kit is pretty simple, or at least I think it's pretty simple. This clearly goes to your negative and your positive, and then this gets mounted somewhere in the cab, and then we have to push this through the firewall, and this goes in cab, and Cali Raised actually sends a switch. It's like an OEM switch that goes in right next to the driver. Looks really pretty, so we're going to get that wired up in just a second. All right, guys, so this is kind of how I ran the wiring. Focus might not be great here. So this is how we're running the wiring. You can't see this very well, but here, running it up through, and I'm actually having it follow the form headlight line. So I keep my wires as condensed. I'm going to zip tie all of this. Ran that through. Mounting this onto the stock position. This is a 10 millimeter bolt right here, so that's mounted. And then we have to thread this through to the firewall and then set it up to the battery, and then we should be good to go. We'll test the light, and then if the light is working in the light bar, then we'll make our final adjustment as to the angle of how we want this down. And then lastly, we have to swap out this grill, the old one from Taco Clout, with the new one from Taco Clout, and then we'll get the final money shot. All right, so the wiring for the most part is done. This is pretty messy. I'm gonna clean this up later. I still have to run this wire, see it here, through the firewall. But you can see right here, this isn't the switch I'm gonna be using, if my camera will focus, but Cali Raised light bar is working. So we are good to go to clean up our wiring and to finish the assembly and get the final shot of the Tacoma. All right, guys, wiring for the most part is done. We just have to run it to the cabin. We just put the air dams back in, and I just replaced the old TRD Pro grill with the new one. We're about to toss that in, and then we're basically going to finish the wiring, and that's going to be a wrap. All right, so this is how I wired it. Actually, Pat wired it, but I used the LED light bar. I'm going to have to get an aux beam panel because I also have up top a printed roof rack, but we'll get there in due time.
It's supposed to say GMC.
Yeah. I know, right?
Oh, it's a...
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the install of the first of its kind Cali Raised LED stealth front bumper without a bull bar on the Tacoma. I was so stoked that my Tacoma was the first one to receive this. Excited to see more of these out in the market. Let me know what your thoughts, bull bar, no bull bar. Drop it down in the comments, and please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps me out so tremendously as I'm trying to build this page, build my truck, and explore and go on more really cool adventures. I appreciate all of you, and make sure to find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook under Tacoma Vibe. My name's Ryan Costantini. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Peace.